know what you want to be in future. It's not like today I want to be a lawyer and tomorrow I want to be a doctor. Just set one goal. You could manage it. Like if when you love something so much, it's like you can take any risks to get it. There is no particular people as role model. Every pilots I met, every pilots I hear on the radio, they're all my motivators.
Springbank Tower, Golf Lima Lima Victors, holding short runway 35, ready for departure. Calgary Terminal, Cessna 172 Golf Lima Lima Victor is Tower Springbank at 5,500 feet, requesting 7,500 feet to Red Deer. Red Deer Radio, Cessna 172 Golf Lima Lima Victor is over the town of Innisfail, currently at 6,000 feet, descending to 4,000 feet, and we're inbound for a touch and go. Calgary Terminal, Cessna 172 Golf Lima Lima Victor is 2 miles to the south of Crossfield at 6,000 feet. Just wondering if we could get a city tour.
Hi everyone, it's a pleasure and honor to be here, and welcome to the first episode of Namaste Talents. And I have here a very talented aspiring pilot who's got her private pilot license, and she's Godly Mabel. She's from Calgary. It's an honor and pleasure to introduce her to everybody here, and here she is. Welcome Mabel to the show. How are you feeling?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing very well. And how is 2022 looking for you?
Actually, lots of new adventures. Looking forward for more flights, my CPL, and yeah.
So how did you get into PPL? What brought you into it?
So it started when I was 5 years old. So that was the first time I went on a plane to visit my mom in Maldives. So at first, honestly, I didn't know I was going in a plane. So I was casually sitting there. I know it's some kind of transportation. And then my dad spoke to one of the flight crew, and they kind of like took me to the cockpit, and then like the door opened, and I was stunned by the view, honestly. Like the color combinations of red, orange, and green, the switches, the buttons, and I saw two people like looking towards me and like saying me a hi, their smile, their uniform, like their badge shining. I was like, I don't know what the name is, but that's gonna be my seat in future.
That's so wonderful. You seem to be having a very photographic memory.
Yeah.
And how did you carry that from 5 years to 18 years?
So at that point, I told my dad, my mom, my grandparents, everybody that when I grow up, I want to be a pilot. And they were like, yeah, it's just a 5-year-old kid ranting about something she saw. She's going to change when she grow up. But no, they were wrong. Every time, we were frequent travelers, so every time I get on a plane, I myself go to the air hostess, I'll be like, I want to see the cockpit, and then I meet new pilots, and every time I see the cockpit, it was like, I want to be there, I want to be there. Days are like going slower. And then on grade 9, we came here. I was like so stubborn. Like I told my parents, like, I want to be a pilot. There's no other option, no doctor, no engineer, just aviation. And then they came here. And then we were inquiring about the stuffs in this, and like when we came here to Canada on the international plane, we came on the nighttime, so we were like about to land, and I was like looking out my window and I saw like a bunch of Air Canada and like some other British Airways and everything was parked there, and like some were lining up to take off, and I was like, one day I am going to take one of those Boeings and I am going to land on the same international runway. Those time, it looked like a far-fetched dream. I was like, I doubted myself if I'm gonna make it or not. But today, I'm sitting in front of you as a pilot. I'm not like flying Boeing 737 or Airbus, just small Cessnas, but still, I am a pilot who is planning where to go next.
That's absolutely nice to hear about it, Mabel. Can you say something about your childhood? Where did you grow up?
So I was like in multiple places.
Mm-hmm.
So I was born in Tamil Nadu, in Nagarkoil, and my mom is from Tamil Nadu in Kanyakumari district, Asaripallam, and my dad is from Kerala, Malappuram. Yeah, so I was born and brought up like mostly in Tamil Nadu, and then at some point around like my grade 1 and 2, I did in Maldives at Alif Alif Atoll Education Center, Rastu. It's like a little away from the capital city. Mm-hmm. It's a separate island. Mm-hmm. So in there, every time we were on the island, when we go to visit the beaches, I used to see seaplanes taking off and landing, and that was like fascinating. That was like a pure bliss view.
Good.
Yeah, and then I came back like around 4 years. From grade 3 to grade 7, I was studying in Tamil Nadu with my grandparents, because my parents, they both were in different islands, so they couldn't like manage to take care of me. Okay. So then I was with my grandparents. I was studying at IELC public school there, and then I moved back to Maldives again in grade 8 and 9, and then came here, did my high school, grade 10 to 12 in Bishop McNally High School.
So what would you say about the education from back in India as well as to Canada? Like the system changes, you know, the entire perspective of reading, doing things, everything changes, right? So how did you find it?
So in India, it was mostly teachers-based system, and here it's all self-based, self-paced system. In India, what I found the Indian education system easier because there is somebody to help us. There is somebody to give us instructions, somebody to guide us on what to do and how to do. But here it's like teachers give us an essay and they ask like, give it to me tomorrow or maybe after a week. So it was really a struggle because we don't have like a procedure to follow, and I had to like come up with my own ideas, come up with my own arguments and write it. So at the beginning, it was really a struggle because I learned to be dependent on someone, and suddenly when I came here, I had to be independent for myself. So that was a bit of a struggle, but now I adapted to it. So it goes.
That's nice. It's also a major change within yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like you had to do all the other things like organizing and bringing in different ways of putting things in different compartments.
I have to put it into my life. Like
yes.
if I need to get the grades, I have to do
yes.
the work.
So,
whereas in India, it's like somebody will help you to do it. Somebody's there to assist you, and you can ask opinions. Can I do this? Is this the right way to do it? But here it's like, if you think it's right, yeah, you do it.
So what would you say to the children of grade 9s and 10s? How would they see their dreams come true? When you could visualize yourself from a 5-year-old, what you saw, to the time what you're sitting here for, what would you say for those 9 and 10?
I would say is grade niners, it's like not that important education, but like when you get into grade 12, when you get into like high school, it really matters on how much knowledge you have and how much you study, because those marks are gonna be useful for your future. Like no matter for any profession, they actually require a certain amount of grades. So know what you want to be in future. It's not like today I want to be a lawyer and tomorrow I want to be a doctor. Just set one goal and work towards it. Research for it. There's like multiple universities and they have their own set of grades to get into it. Work towards that. And
So, but being a private pilot licensed person, there is lots of multitasking there, right?
yeah.
You just don't use only one sense there. You use all your senses, you use your hands, you use everything across it. And for a child who's in grade 9 and 10, it's like, you want to enjoy everything what's there before you. Nobody wants to take that responsibility.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be determined or focused. How did you put yourself in that shoe?
When I did my training, at beginning it was like really hard to get everything done together at one. But then I had my instructor helping me. So like at first I used to do the talking and the listening. Honestly, at the beginning of my training, I won't even understand what other pilots are talking to me. That was like really stressful, and I used to like freak out, and my instructor would be like, no, that's okay, you're getting it. So like one by one, every day, more training. And
so do you have any special interest, hobbies that goes along with this line?
Not really. I used to read a lot of books, and I used to do a lot of research.
So what kind of books fascinated you?
Mostly nonfiction.
Nonfiction. Okay. Any particular author that strikes out for you? Okay, that's also cool. So what would you say for all these people who are sitting in grade 11 and 12 who want to do something with their career, but they don't have an option? They want to do, but options are so high, but not focused enough. So how would you say that, when you wanted to be a pilot, you decided yourself in grade 9, this is what you want to do. Did Air Cadets or any other organizations help you with that?
Oh yeah, I was like one of my dad's family friend, he actually told me if I couldn't get into like an airline, like with my grades and stuff, you can also try Air Cadets, and they actually kind of sort of helped me like search the nearest squadron beside me, and I'm still an active member of 530 at Buffalo Air Cadets.
Buffalo Air Cadets. Okay. So what would you say for the children? Where should they go and reach out for this Air Cadets? Is there any particular groups that they have to ask in, or the school provides that?
Some schools actually not provide, but they kind of have the information in it. But if you can also search on internet, like Google is like the best resource of everything.
That's true.
You can simply search it, and there's not only Air Cadets, there's also Army Cadets, Police Cadets, Navy Cadets, like all kinds of Air Cadets here. So you can, what interests you, search for that, like look for the nearest one and go join. They actually educate us for free.
Oh, okay. So how did it go parallelly with your school education and with your private license?
At first it was really tough because I started when I was grade 12 and I do school on weekdays and flying on weekends. It was really tough time because I couldn't like focus on both things, because flying happens, but that's like a whole different world from school. So it's like 5 days I do schoolwork, busy with essays, busy with like multiple choice answers and questions, and then on the weekends come like something with the sky, a battle with the sky. So it was hard, but you could manage it. Like when you love something so much, it's like you can take any risks to get it. So it's like when I'm in the sky, I don't care about anything else. I don't care about school. It's like school's not there. So it's like flying only, and I just focus on it, and that's how.
What's your first experience of being in the air?
Like I said, I had an instructor with me. I didn't understand any of the air communication happened there. I was just sitting there enjoying the view of the downtown at that point. And it was like really excited to get in the plane. You know, when the plane took off and I was like looking at the wheels, oh, I'm up in the sky. And now he has to get me to the ground. And when we landed, it's like we were going on the evening time. So it was like a sunset landing. So it was like a pure bliss to watch.
Mabel, it's so nice to hear so many things that's coming through your life. How did COVID go along with all this, your studies, your pilot license and everything?
COVID actually did good to me, to be honest.
So guys, you should make sure that COVID is coming into your lives in some ways in a positive way.
Yeah, because as I told, it was such a struggle for me to balance out grade 12 and flying. But since COVID came out, school became online. So I was like, I became a full-time flying student. So that helped me a lot. So because when I have weekend flyings, it barely happens. You know the weather in Canada. It's either snow, fog, mist, or it's like smoke everywhere. So it barely even happens on weekends. But then like since schools went online, I started giving full days availability, and then I could fly pretty much like 5 days a week. So that was like, that actually helped me progress my training, because I learned something on Saturday, and then there won't be a class on Sunday, and then there's 5 days off, and then I go again on Saturday, and I completely forget what I learned the previous week. So that was like a real big struggle, because I kept wasting a lot of hours going like that, because it's like a big gap time. It's multitasking. It's like a skill you learn it through a lot of practice and like continuous practice. So COVID actually did good.
That's nice. So how did your teacher see this? Like, when she wanted to kind of say to the class, like, her grade student is doing this, how did you feel about it, and what did the teacher say?
Honestly, my teachers nor my friends, nobody knew that I was doing this.
There's a surprise here then, everybody. But it's a nice way to inspire everybody here, Mabel. So you should come forward to say to people, how did you manage things? Because organizing something is very difficult, and you've been organizing it so well that from the time of the first cockpit experience to the time what you're sitting here now, there's a lot of things that's gone in, right? So it's not just your hard work, it's not just your parents' willingness, but beyond that, there's so many other factors that's come in, right? Who would you like to say as your inspiration, or who would like to be a role model there?
There is no particular people as role model. Every pilots I met, every pilots I hear on the radio, they're all my motivators. Because every time I hear a pilot, like, because sometimes I go on a downtown city tour here, and then I will be like the only Cessna planes there, and there's like all Airbus and Boeings and 837s there flying around me, and I'll be like, I am playing with the big boys. And then I can hear every single person's communication, and I'll be like, they have that prideness in their voice when they talk to their air traffic controller. So all pilots I met, everyone I heard, even though I don't know their names, they are all my role models. I have to be like them one day. I have to talk like them one day.
That's nice. So do you, when you are in the air, and when you're talking with people there, your communication officers as well as the towers that's been happening, how do you start that? Like, do you have that hesitation in yourself? Like, am I talking well? Is this how I have to talk? Or like, am I missing out something? How does that happen?
So we actually have like a radio operator license exam prior we do PPL. So before we start our PPL, we have to clear an exam called Pre-Star and radio. So on that radio exam, it has like certain set of rules on how we have to radio communicate. So like, for example, if they give us a command and we accept it, we don't just say, okay, yeah, we just say affirmative. So there's like a certain set of words and rules for that.
So no SMS language and text
no
language.
SMS.
Yes, so it's very difficult to follow through something, right? There is some set procedures and rules that you need to follow.
Yeah.
How did it happen when you started to put that in practice?
So I kind of actually had like a pre-hand note. I used to write things and I like memorized them and by heart them just for the first couple of flights, because I don't want to mess up things and like get a cador. Cador is like a ticket you get basically in aviation. So when you mess things up, they actually call your flying school and they say, this plane at this time was flying, it did this thing. So it's a cador. So it's an aviation incident. So our schools don't want that to happen. So I kind of have all that radio communication written down pre-handy. And I'll be like, this is what I need to say when I talk to them.
I share your 18. Okay.
But now it's like the flow goes on. So now I know what to talk and like how to respond. At the beginning, it was really frustrating because sometimes I tell them something and they give me something unexpected and I'll be like, I don't know what to do. And then my instructor would help me out at that point.
For this age, what you're doing is amazing. It's beyond imagination for us sitting here even asking you a question. It does bring into a point saying like, how did it all come through in your head, right?
Yeah.
And when it came through, are you a practitioner for writing journals?
No.
And how do you map out your routes and all? Like how did that come through in your exams as well as with your flying? Like you're mapping out everything, right? Your places, because you don't have a GPS.
Yeah.
So how did you do that?
We actually get a lot of practice with that because our most landmarks are towns, bigger towns and the highway roads. I don't know if you can see it, but like when you are on the top, you can distinguish like normal roads and highways pretty easily.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
And lakes are like the most used landmarks. So that's how we map out. We just draw a line and we assume that we dead reckon that we actually follow that line.
And so do you see all the animals there? Like,
yeah, we actually can see them like tiny, tiny toys.
So if you are to make an emergency landing, how do you kind of bring that down?
So it's actually pretty simple. We used to go A to F, so A, B, C, D, E, F. So A, which means like airspeed. So we used to go on like the best glide speed. So you can glide longest distance without power and like gain lowest altitude at the shortest time. So, and then we used to on the carburetor heat, which is like, it's like an ice prevention thing. So on cold days, if you don't have an engine, of course, you're going to build up ice in your engine and like other horizontal troughs. So that's like an ice preventer there. And then you choose the B, best field, and you look down, you'll be like, I don't see a tractor. The field look fresh cut. There is no teeny tiny toys there. So, and then we use wind directions also. So if I take off from runway 35, the wind's going to be opposite of me. So I'm going to look my compass and be like 35 is this way. Oh, so I'm going to land that way. And I pick a field like which is on that direction. And then C comes the cost check. So we're trying to restart the engine. If the engine doesn't restart, we're going to declare an emergency, which is the D. And then if we have passengers, emergency passenger briefing, which means like seatbelts tight and secure, doors and windows just unlatch it and those kind of stuff. And then the final shutdown and we land.
So during your practice or during your exams, did you have any emergency landing?
A lot.
How did it go?
It was unexpected at all. At first, my instructor would give me landings. Like he used to have a casual talk like this, and then all of a sudden he pulls the engine and we're like, emergency, what do you do? At first, I'm gonna like freak out. Okay, the worst part was I used to take like long enough to choose a best field. My instructor would be like, you're very picky on a field. Because you never know, like when you go closer to the field, you'll see that grass are like 10 feet tall and you can land there. So it's like, it was really a struggled process to like determine the field from 6,000 or 7,500 feet. And at first, that took me like long. It took me like 30 minutes to do an emergency landing. But then right now, it's like 4 minutes. 4 minutes is actually longer for me. Like I used to do stuffs and finish it in 2 minutes and be like, yeah, we'll get to the field and I'll wait for the field to come there. And yeah.
So how was your first experience? Like, are you supposed to get it within 10 hours, 15 hours? Your, the first exam or something to get through this?
You mean the first emergency landing failure we get?
Yeah.
We used to get it like, we used to have our first solo after the 10 hours.
Okay.
So in that 10 hours, they actually teach us everything. So so on our first solo, if we had an engine failure, you never know what to do. So they actually make sure that we're thorough enough with the procedure and process, and we are safe to land, and that then they send us solo. And I haven't had any emergency yet.
Okay.
I don't know in future, but not yet.
But at least when we are in that position, then we remember that so much, right? So at least get one, so you will remember that for your life. That's true. But Mabel, it's nice to know so many things that's happened within your progress of getting this license. So how do you see yourself in future? Like, where do you want to go from here to? Well, what's your next step?
Yeah, as you know, I'm doing my commercial pilot license, and then I am planning to get on my multi-engine rating and my instrument rating as well. And I'm trying to get an instructor rating just so if I don't have enough hours, I can work as an instructor and build up my hours. And my main goal is to be a captain at a bigger airline and on a double-decker plane.
Oh, that's That's a
double
very
decker.
nice.
That's must.
That's really nice aspiration as well as ambition to be there. That's true. How long will it take for you to be there? Like how many hours of flying or how many hours of your practice and stuff?
So for commercial, I need around 70 hours of flight training, and multi-engine maybe like another 25. And they all have specific hours, and if the weather permits and if everything goes well, I can finish it on that hour.
Okay.
So probably another year or two.
Another year or two. So for grade 11 and grade 12, would you say that, if this is something that they would look forward, what would you suggest them to start with?
I would suggest them to start with getting good grades, because for aviation, main focus subjects are math, physics, and English. And if you are doing your high school diploma in Canada, you don't have to do the English exam, but there is a test called ALPT, Aviation Language Proficiency Test. If you're from outside Canada and you want to be a pilot here, you have to take that test. So I would say start focusing on math and physics, because those are the main things you need. Because even inside a plane, while you're multitasking, while your hands are like driving, like have the control columns, your feet are using the rudders, and your ears are listening, your mouth is talking, you still do the calculations with the calculator and stuff on the plane when it's on the air.
Mabel, when we were talking about all these progressive learning, what you've done, there are times when rejections and failures come by, right?
Yeah.
What would you say for children who are facing that, or how did you face that?
So I have faced failures a lot, not rejections, but failures, because what I have read in books and in air loss and what my instructors and everybody told, that we would go on our first solo in the 10 hours. I think I have told it before also, the 10 hours, but I had 30 hours and still I wasn't able to go for my first solo. I was really disappointed at the time. Every time I would go ask my instructor, why am I not going solo? And he'll be like, you're not quite there yet. You need a little bit more practice. And I was like, I was really discouraged at that point, because like, am I not even like in this thing? Is it not meant for me? Like those kind of doubts started rising up. And at some point I had doubted myself, like, if I can even do this, or should I drop it and like go for some other field and stuff like that.
So what motivated you to come back to the position? What do you want
my
to get?
parents, they kept supporting me. They were like, it's okay, you can do this. Don't think about the hours. You will go when the right time comes. And they never actually like got mad at me about why you're not going at this hours. You have 35 hours. They still keep spending for me even though how much I go. And then I did my first solo on 35 hours. And I have a lot of friends in aviation who actually quit the field because they couldn't do the thing in expected level. Because Transport Canada says you finish your PPL on 45 hours. But as I mentioned, I have like 161 hours. And lots of aviation students have more than 100 hours of PPL hours. But it's like Transport set one limit. That's for like smart and bright students with the perfect weather. The weather keeps lagging a lot in Canada. But I have gone mine in 161 hours, and that never demotivated me. Like, even though failures come, even though rejections come, I have shoulders to lean on here. So
That's good.
That's my strength.
That's really a good strength for you, and I hope that carries on with other children also who are hearing this, because demotivation is something, a major factor which pulls down anybody, right? So that's good. And Mabel, you did say about expenses, right? So just wanted to go through, like, what were the steps to come into this? Like, if, for example, if a person is coming from another country, how would that person come to this education, or even to take this license here, and a person who's here itself? Like, what is the difference in that, and what kind of steps and procedures would they have to take?
Steps is like, if you are from here, you would need a high school diploma with like a decent amount of grade in math and physics, and English doesn't matter, but you still need a decent grade in that. And you have to clear your P-STAR and radio exams, and then you can get admission in flying schools. Like, there's a lot of flying schools. Mount Royal University offers it, and other private colleges like Spring Bangor Training College. And I am doing mine in Calgary Flying Club right now. So there's a lot of institutes there. And if you're going for an international, if you're coming from an international country, you can still apply, but you would require to take an ALPT test. It's an aviation language proficiency test. So you would require to complete that test and at least get a level 4 achievement in that. And then you can continue your work here. And about the expenses, I spent around $60,000 with my PPL. Yeah, it's actually pretty costly. And the headset itself, for my aviation headsets itself, cost like $1,000. So I spent around $60,000. And if you're an international student, I know it's double the amount. I'm not sure about the exact expenses, but if you're from here, money depends on the weather and on the flying school you go.
And your commitment too, right?
Yeah, your commitment too.
Okay. So what would you like to say to the future aspirants of this particular field?
What I want to say is make sure you get like good grades on your high school diploma, especially the particular subjects. And vision and hearing are like the major thing in aviation. You need to have 20/20 vision, and we're not permitting glasses. So make sure you lower your screen time and don't use a lot of headphones, especially with loud noises, because I never do a lot of screen timing, especially in India. I never do it because we have paper books and stuff, so that was easy. When I came here, when stuffs went online, that's when I used to do like a little bit of screen time. So I used to take care of my vision as much as possible just so I can get into this profession. So make sure you have the perfect vision and hearing, and also maintain a healthy diet, because you don't have to have diabetes if you want to go for aviation, because that's going to affect the vision so much. So maintain a healthy diet, and you will require a class 1 medical as well. So on that medical, they're going to test your vision, hearing, ECG, and everything in it. So you need to have a class 1 medical, and you need to renew it every year. So, and that's it.
So basically, you have to be fit enough for this profession all through your years.
Like a military diet, I want to say.
Okay, that's good enough to know what happens in that line of work. So now you have your PPL, and then it's your CPL, right?
Yeah.
So what happens there? Like how many, like when you get your CPL, are you like into commercial flying, or what happens there?
No, we don't like get to work as pilot right after we get CPL. You need to do multi-engine, because CPL happens in Cessna planes. Multi-engine is like a bit more different plane. It's kind of similar to the Boeing and Airbus, the international planes. So you need to have certain hours for the multi-engine as well as instrument rating, because all the bigger airlines are IFR, they're instrument rated, and we as Cessnas are visual range, so we're VFR.
So how many hours of flying do you need for that?
Like around 100 hours, 100. I want to say. And then after that, you don't get into airlines right away.
Okay.
You need to have 500 hours of pilot in command. So my solo hours should be 500 hours to get into an airline like WestJet or Air Canada. So most people do instructor rating and work as an instructor to get that hours. Even myself, I am planning to take on instructor rating to get that hours. Once I have 500 plus hours, I can apply for airlines and I can go work there.
Oh, okay. So you go immediately, yes, after all these hours.
After all these hours.
Okay. So thanks, Mabel, for joining us today. Thanks from Namaste World, and for Namaste Talents as well. We wish you a very wonderful 2022. May all your ambitions and aspirations come true. And who's this little fellow who's joined us here?
Yeah, it's my brother, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
6 years old and is in grade 1.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Are you excited to see your sister coming up as a pilot? That's nice. So thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been a pleasure knowing Mabel, and thanks Namaste World for giving us this opportunity to talk about her ambitions and aspirations. And we wish you a very wonderful years ahead. See you soon in Lufthansa.
Thank you. And I express my gratitude to Namaste World and its representatives for giving me this time and opportunity on behalf of me and my family.
Thank you.
Thank you.